Welcome to the very first episode of Unscripted, brought to you by the good people at the Adventist Review. You will not believe the stuff we're going to talk about today. All right, I'm sitting down with my new boss, Justin Kim, and you'll notice that Mr. Kim has a coat that is branded to the Adventist Review. I do not. I have not been here long enough to earn my coat, right? Or do I
we'll get you one. You just, you choose a nice coat that you like, and we'll just kind of
put something on there.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to provide the coat.
Yeah, or we can get that for you, and whatever size that you prefer.
You know they're fiscally responsible. I have to buy the coat, and he will draw the Review logo on it. Yeah. Hey, listen, Justin Kim is the senior editor of the Adventist Review. He is the bigwig, the head cheese at the Adventist Review, and head cheese. That I probably shouldn't have called you, because I do like my job. But tell us a little bit about your background. Were you born into the church, born into an Adventist family? Where does Justin Kim come from?
Yeah, hey, so I was born and raised in New York, New Jersey, on the East Coast of the United States. I'm Korean by descent. A lot of people ask North or South Korean. That's not a question that you should know your geopolitics.
That doesn't matter to a Korean family, that question?
It's the same. It's the same.
Okay.
Yeah. So I grew up in New Jersey, went to a Roman Catholic high school.
Oh, no kidding.
Went to a Jewish college, and then went to eventually a Seventh-day Adventist seminary to iron out all the complexities of my matrix.
You're just missing like your Islamic education. Yeah. That's all you're missing now.
Well, I did get to pastor in Detroit, where they're the largest percentage of Muslims outside of Middle East were, and we got to do some interactions with those good people too. So it's got a variety of experiences from different languages.
So you end up at the seminary and pastoring. How do you end up in ministry, generally speaking?
Yeah, so I was, long story about making super short, not too long, was involved in campus ministries at the university, and then was working at Harvard Medical. And I wanted to be a doctor.
Are you a doctor?
I wanted to be a doctor. Yeah. That's the Asian destiny for all of us.
I think that's required to at least consider it, right?
And I was doing Bible studies, doing apologetics with some of the postdocs there, and I said, man, I need to get some Bible training. I'd like to get know how to do what I want to do. And so I took some time off to the seminary, and then there just God opened doors, and I became a pastor 20 years later. Well, immediately, and in 20 years I've been still.
So where do you start pastoring?
In Michigan, was there in Berrien Springs near the seminary.
Right.
Was also in Lansing and Detroit, and then about 10 years ago I was called here to the General Conference. I was an editor for the Sabbath School department, and about 3 years ago called to this position.
No kidding. Yeah. How much are you enjoying it?
The parts that I enjoy.
The reading audience is watching.
I really enjoy. The parts that I don't enjoy, I enjoy more than I thought than I wouldn't enjoy. If that makes sense. I'm editorializing my.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And we don't have the opportunity to edit any of this, but I think that made sense. You love the things you used to hate, and you hate the things you used to love, right?
There you go.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Romans.
So, what is the highlight for you? I mean, what is it that attracts you to this kind of work?
Yeah, so working and not just here in the office, but getting to travel around the world and see how Adventism is so similar, yet so different. I think that's just the most amazing quality of our people.
Was there anything out there in the field as you traveled the world that came as a big surprise? Like, I did not expect this.
Yeah, when I go to other countries and I see them singing hymns.
Yeah.
And some of the hymns are very similar to they're the same song, but they're done in a particular way that we're like, I recognize the song, but it's kind of different.
Like musically speaking or lyrically?
Both.
Oh, really?
Both. And they put their thing to it, and it's like, we're still a family, but we got cousins all around the world.
Yeah. No, I've worked in India some. And I've noticed there aren't 13 tones in their scale. There's 130. And seriously, quarter and eighth tones, which took a little time for my ear to adjust to.
Yeah.
But in no time. What I love about it is it doesn't matter where I land. I have family in town.
Yeah.
Whether I've met them or not, I have family in town,
Yeah.
and that's a pretty cool thing.
And they all love the Bible. They all love Jesus. They all have these core things that make us Adventists is the same thing. There's other stuff that differentiates us, and that's okay. And it took me a little bit of a while to understand what's core and what's not. And I think our whole world family is discovering that continually also.
Yeah, no, I love it. Worldwide church. For me, traveling really underlines what the remnant church was supposed to be. I mean, I learned the prophecy on my way into the church, and every nation, kindred, tongue, and people. And as I travel, it's like, wow, it is coming to pass. Our pioneers only dreamed of the moment we live in, but it's really true. We're going to talk about that a little bit today, so how the church is growing globally, because it's in our January issue. I know it's the end of January, but shame on you if you don't have this in your home. There it is.
I love the cover. I love the cover. This was done a custom graphic, and not just for the cover, but also for the lead story. And just very proud of. It's just not. We're not just trying to do new art, but art is a great representation of our theology. Like it should look nice, aesthetic, and also words can only convey so much, but illustrations just go on this extra mile that words.
Oh no, we have moved away from our left brains in an Adventist setting. But no, I tend to agree. I mean, I studied music. I like art history and that kind of stuff, and I'm liking a lot of what's ending up on covers and feature articles because it's true. Art speaks in ways that logical bullet points don't. They communicate faster. I used to actually resist as an evangelist. I don't want slides. We're going to make everybody open their Bible. But then I discovered that comprehension and memory went through the roof if I coupled the Bible text with imagery, especially for those with visual memories, and they got the concept if the art is good. And then I remembered Ellen White's quote. She does say this: if you're going to use art, do the best you can so that people don't make sport of your public evangelistic meetings. So I've always taken that to heart.
Oh, cool.
She actually said, that's the Boonstra paraphrase of wherever she said that. It's in that big book, Ellen White Says. And no, it is in there. You find it. I had a creative director that found that for me, and he said, if you're going to do it right. Because if you do it badly, you've lost the audience. You've just lost the audience.
So, just let us know. What do you think about the cover? And it's hard because we are a global publication.
Right.
And sometimes art lands really well in some parts of the world, and other parts are like, what is that? They don't always get it. That's something that Hollywood just really does well. Whatever they do, the world kind of senses and understands. But we're trying to do our very best, and I think it's just a very nice aesthetic cover.
Yeah, it's just too colorful and cheerful for my liking, Justin. It just is.
Much orange for you?
Well, no, in the 7th grade in art class, we had to do one. I don't know how many of you had to do this. Watercolors with a straw. I don't know how that's art, and we had to blow the watercolors across the page and make this. And I picked dark drab green and black as my colors, and teacher gave me a D. 7th grader. D, because it was too dark and morose, and she needed cheerful.
You're going through your teenage angst years.
Yeah, we need a black cover once in a while just for me, just black. So speaking of which, the first feature in each of these, and I've got the Spanish edition here as well. We publish in a lot of languages.
We do.
The first feature you find when you open it is none other than Mr. Justin Kim's editorial, and I'm a big fan of the one that is in January. If you don't have the magazine in your home, okay, again, shame on you, but it's also online. You can find it there. And you talk about the 3 Natans of Daniel. Unpack that a little bit. What drove you to write that particular editorial? How does that process work for the senior editor?
Yeah, so I don't know how many of you are aware, but we're very excited. At the World Church, we have the One Voice 27 initiative. It's not an initiative, it's a movement, so to speak. But in 2027, it's 2,000 years since Jesus' baptism, his anointing, according to the prophecies of Daniel. And so the World Church, I don't know if many of you are familiar with Net 90, what was it, Net 98, Net 90?
There was a 95 and a 98, and
Acts 2000.
The last 30 years are a blur. They're a blur.
And that was back long time ago when you had satellite dishes and satellite.
That was
yesterday. But now you have social media, you got internet, and you got 9-year-olds have their YouTube channels. You have 900-year-olds doing their evangelistic campaigns through whatever resources they have. And so the World Church says, hey, let's just unite everyone all around the world If you use satellite, awesome. If you use paper and pen, awesome. If you use whatever resource you get, and just combine and make it one voice, and make that big push in 2027. And in preparation for that, for 1 year in 2026, and that's the year that we're in now, to study the books of Daniel and Revelation. So, and I know Adventists are very familiar with Daniel and Revelation, but Sister White says that studying the books of Daniel and Revelation causes a revival that just which spark your heart. And for those of you, whether you're seasoned or unseasoned or you hate seasoned, just studying Daniel and Revelation should just get you into a certain. And you're the Daniel and Revelation. I mean, you've been doing that all your life, yeah.
Yeah, since I joined the church,
Yeah.
I think I taught a public I did a public evangelistic meeting based on Daniel and Revelation. 90 days into my Adventist, that was my first campaign,
Wow.
3 months in. They had me giving Bible
You
studies.
started right away.
Oh, yeah. 3 weeks in, I was giving Bible studies. And we can talk about this maybe on another show where I'll unpack it a little bit, but I got conned into my first evangelistic meeting. I'm terrified of public speaking, big secret most of the church is unaware of. I don't love it. I only do it because I see souls come to the kingdom. That's the only reason that I'll get up front and speak. So the senior pastor of the church said, hey, Shawn, how about you and I do a meeting together? And I said, hey, Don, that's a really good idea, man. I will hold your hand. I will hold it up and, as you preach. And a week before the meeting starts, it's already advertised, handbills are out. He says, you know what, I forgot, I'm supposed to be in Eastern Europe next week. I said, you dog, you can't do that, you can't abandon me. He says, well, I gotta go. And so he left me holding the whole bag and I got thrown in the deep end of the pool.
This is your first gig?
First gig.
Wow.
First gig.
Really?
Yeah, and it worked.
Yeah.
Not because I was eloquent or talented, but because Daniel and Revelation have this pull. As a matter of fact, didn't Ellen White once say that we should bind those two books together, maybe with some minimal commentary and Bible study, and hand that out as a volume? It's that effect. Daniel's the reason I'm a Christian today. It is the reason. So you begin with Daniel chapter 1 in here. What's the essence of this? I love this opinion piece.
Yeah.
But
so Daniel chapter 1, you're either going to like roll your eyes and be like, oh, I've read Daniel 1 a million times, or you're like, I don't really know what Daniel 1 means. We kind of have that spectrum. And so I figure, what's an angle that we can have a devotional aspect about Daniel 1 that isn't so common? And there's this one Hebrew word that's repeated in this chapter, and it's not found in other parts as much. And it just happens to be the root word for my son, Nathaniel, and it's word Natan. And we get the words, or the names Jonathan, Jonathan, Nathaniel, the prophets Nathan, but it's found 3 times. And in this chapter of chaos, where like Babylon's taken over, and Daniel is, he's a prisoner, and all that bad stuff, is that God is still in control, and He's the one giving. Natan means to give, and God is giving 3 things. And He's giving, I don't know if I should mention it.
Oh yeah, no, mention it.
But you should read it.
Don't give everything away because I want people to read it. But yeah, there are 3 things, and I find those key. They illustrate something important.
Yeah.
So the 3 are?
So He gives political victory. He gives, when Babylon took over Judah, that it says that God gave Judah into Babylon's hand. So even though military, it was Babylon who conquered them, but it was really God who's on top of Babylon who's doing the giving. And so anytime we have these, power struggles and whatnot, it's really God who is the one in charge of it all, and that He empowers people.
Right.
So that's the first one.
I find that one curious because on the one hand, it says God gave this victory to Nebuchadnezzar. He takes the temple vessels, takes them back to Babylon, takes the shortcut across the desert. And then on the other hand, Babylon's condemned for doing this.
Sure.
God uses them, but I think what He does is open the gate for their ambitions anyway. Hey, Israel's not being faithful.
Yeah.
What's the point of preserving this anymore? They don't care about the temple. They don't care about the covenant anymore. But He gives victory, and it kind of sets the stage for the whole book because we see the rise and fall of nations.
Yeah.
And the implication throughout the whole book is like, this looks like chaos. It's not.
Sure.
Somebody's driving this. Without violating free will, somebody is driving this.
So, and contemporary application is that even today, God gives the one political victories to modern leaders too, right? You don't have to agree with their politics, but however, and God will have to explain some of these leaders of why He did, but ultimately He holds these leaders accountable in the judgment as well. And you see this all throughout the Old Testament, that they follow through with God's will, but if they exceed that in any way, God's judgment is exact and it's just. But the victory is still His at the end of the day. So that's the first one.
One Natan.
Yeah, that's the first
What are the
Natan.
other two that you
The
mentioned?
second one is that God gives social favor, that God gave Daniel social favor into the courtiers, the courtesans, the bureaucracy of Babylon at the time. Daniel was just a slave, low-class dude, and God gave him social favor.
Right.
And the Lord still gives social favor. He gives favor in the eyes of those above us and allows for opportunities for the gospel, for different blessings. And the third one is that God gives skill, knowledge, prophetic ability to Daniel. So I talk about political, social, and intellectual abilities. God is the one who Natans them to us.
You're not going to want to miss this series. I think every month this year you're committed to editorializing on one chapter of Daniel, which would take you to the end of the year. 12 months.
There you go.
12 editorials. All right, but the feature article this time. Let me hold this up for y'all. The feature article, have we reached the world yet?
Yeah.
And this is a question that plagues Seventh-day Adventists around the world. We often discuss it. I hear it in Sabbath school. I hear it everywhere. And there's a major treatment of that theme in this magazine by Jerry Chase and our very own Jonathan Walter.
Yeah, one of our assistant editors.
Yeah.
I think the core of this, Shawn, is that, and I don't know how many of you guys feel about this, but we're Adventists, right? Jesus is to come. Why isn't He here yet? I mean, that's really the golden question since our inception in 1844 till now, in 2026. Why isn't He here? There's different theories. One, we're not perfect yet. One, we haven't overcome cheese yet. I mean, there's all sorts of different permutations of the answer. But one is that we haven't reached the world yet.
Right.
And so that's kind of the core intent behind this article.
Right. Now, I'm a lifetime, up until recently, I'm a lifetime itinerant evangelist. And that question plagues me. And I have had this massive struggle. There's a lot of numbers in this issue, and I've always had this massive struggle with numbers. Do numbers matter? And what I find interesting is we have, and we'll mention this in a moment again, but there's another article in here that says, don't worry about numbers, be faithful. And yet here's a major feature that digs into numbers. It's like, hey, man, in some parts of the world, like here in America, 1 out of 300 people, roughly, give or take, is a Seventh-day Adventist. In my home country of Canada, it's almost half of that, 1 out of 570. And it mentions Cairo, Egypt in here, in A Tale of Two Cities. And Cairo, Egypt is 1 out of 100,000 is Adventist. And of course, the big question is, it mentions Brazil, 1 out of 34. Those are good numbers.
Yeah.
You can go through a lot of Brazilian cities and see an Adventist church almost on every corner. I was recently in PNG, and I saw Adventist churches everywhere. But I've also been in places where I couldn't find one. I just couldn't find one. And so I guess the question is this. Is there a number in God's brain where He says, when we cross this line, I'm coming? How important are numbers to the whole discussion?
Yeah.
They are and there aren't, right?
I think in our denomination, we go through these two extremes, So one says, hey, it's all about, we got to be faithful. It's not about the numbers. Just preach the message, and whether people show up or not, you're doing this for the Lord. And that's where Ken Denslow's article kind of gravitates towards.
It balances the thing a little bit.
And then the others are saying, no, it's got to be about numbers. It's got to be about growth. We have to have metrics. And the two kind of there's tension between the two. And I would say for healthy balance, we need both, right? The Lord, it is about numbers. There will be souls who are won. There will be a gradually increase or exponential or sudden or however you want to describe it. But it's also about faithfulness. It's not all about numbers, and we can, in our human machinations, kind of contrive growth and whatnot. But it is about faithfulness and your motive of doing it. But it's both. I think we have two strong articles that provide that balance.
Yeah, and I think there is a balance. I mean, I used to panic as a brand new evangelist. Oh no, they're going to publish the baptismal number in the conference newsletter or in the union paper or in the Adventist Review. And this better be a good number because I like my career. But some years ago I wrote an article that was in the review.
Yeah.
How I get in the review doesn't make any sense. But I got in the review, and I think we called it Jesus the Failed Evangelist, that article, because at the end of his ministry, we can identify 120 really good disciples. If you and I were itinerant evangelists for 3.5 years and had 120 as the total, we'd probably be invited to find another job. And yet that was Jesus. And in John 6, verse 66, there's this scene where Jesus explains, hey, here's why the Son of Man has come. And it says, many walked away at that moment and never came back. And here's what I find interesting. You don't find Jesus running down the road in that account saying, let me try a different approach. And so I took some, it's not going to land everywhere. And yet the message isn't going to land on everybody. You're not going to win the whole room. Even Jesus didn't do that. However, you can start to use that as an excuse not to try anymore. It'll just let the chips fall. I hear Adventists say this all the time. Just let the chips fall where they will, and it's up to them. They've heard the truth. Well, how the truth is presented matters as well. Our intentionality matters as well. People tell me, well, we had no results. And I always say, you could have had results. There are methods. We have counsels that will work. And I would tease people. They say, numbers don't matter. And I say, well, yes and no. Why? It's a joke. Why did God name a whole book of the Bible Numbers? Numbers are people. That's English. At the end of the day, in English, In Hebrew, it's not even called numbers.
But still a lot of numbers.
And numbers are people. That's why it matters. Those are souls. They matter. God knows every one of them. He knows every hair on your head, but he also knows every lost sinner.
That's right.
And that's why numbers matter. Our target audience is all of them. All of them.
That's right.
But then we come to Ken Denslow's article, and Ken, a friend of mine, he told me this story. In the article it says, sometimes I tell a story and I don't know how it's going to land on somebody. And I'm the individual he's thinking of because I remembered the story. It's a church that held an evangelistic meeting. He's the conference president. He swings by to see how it's going, and the place is empty. They really had no guests, and they decided, at any rate, we're going to hold this meeting. We're going to preach the whole thing. And what he told me, he says, I think something happens in heaven when we're faithful, when we preach it no matter what. And I tend to agree with that, Justin. I think, Satan says, who loves you, God? And he says, wait a minute, not so fast. Have you considered my servant Job?
Right.
And the devil, I think, can say, hey, your message doesn't sell, and God can point to a faithful church and say, these people love me. They did the whole thing because I asked them to.
Right. I mean, that article, pretty bizarre in itself, the vulnerability for a church leader to state publicly in print that I did a meeting, no one showed up. I mean, that's pretty vulnerable.
Well, it wasn't his meeting. No, he was
to give that account. But then, to give the great controversy perspective on it, that behind the scenes, there may be a battle going on, and then God is saying, hey, look at this evangelistic series where no one's at, but at least that's my servant, and he's being faithful. And that is an argument for a non-earthly argument, and it's winning a battle in heaven somewhere. That's just, it was like, wow. And it gives, it provides a perspective on all that we do.
Yep, and I've taken that to heart. I don't panic about the numbers. I do care. As a matter of fact, we were very systematic. I know some evangelists that are very systematic. They, the first Monday of every campaign, whether there's 3,000 people in the audience or not, we read every name out loud. It takes 10 hours.
Wow.
Every single one of those is a soul that Jesus knows and sent to those meetings. And we identify them, we learn about them. Those numbers matter because they're people. But do I panic about whether or not I have a big group baptism and a photo for the Adventist Review? I don't, because I'm not convinced God has a number. And at that point he says, well done, thou good and faithful servant. You hit 500,000 baptisms. I'm not sure it works that way. And so on the one hand, I relax. I'm called to be faithful.
That's right.
And I don't know what the result in an individual campaign will be. I've had as low as 7 and as many as 40,000. It just depends on the campaign. I've never had a 0. Thank you, Jesus. Never a 0. I came close once, but I don't panic, and yet I know it still matters. God cares about those numbers.
And speaking of, Shawn, if you know, I love this map. I just think it's just, we do a lot of writing at the Adventist Review. There's a lot of text. But whenever we can do art strategically, art well, art intentionally. And so Jerry Chase, who is, he uses like charts and data and GPS or geographical, I mean, he's just all this tech stuff that I have no idea. And Jonathan, one of our assistant editors, sat down with him, and even Jonathan was getting lost with all these numbers and all these stats and all these maps. And we pulled together this map for you. I mean, this map is just, it's beautiful. It is a little complicated to understand, but if you get, I think this map is worth the entire issue in itself. But if you look at, there's a color that's white, and if the country is white, that is the global average. It's one Adventist per 341 individuals.
That's our global average.
That's our global average. So if you look at the map, that's New Zealand. Mm-hmm. New Zealand is the global average. I want to say that's Ecuador in South America. That kind of looks like a white there. And then anything above 341 is higher than the global average. In this map, they did that in different shades of this nice teal. And if you look there, like Zambia is doing uber awesome well. Yep. Yeah, we got a lot of Adventists there. A lot of the islands, Belize is super Adventistized.
I noticed that in Belize. You can't go a mile without
been to
finding.
Belize?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was filming in Belize about a year ago. It's a great place to go in January. It just really is. Yeah.
And you look at the United States, and the United States is above the average, but it's on the lighter side of that shade of green. So we could do better.
And then there's Canada, Justin.
And then Canada. So then you have
Canada?
all these reds.
Canada,
right?
you're red. You're red, Canada.
You have these reds, kind of browns, different shades of brown. That's lower. Right. And that lower than the global average, there's a huge gradient there. And so you got Canada not doing so well, Argentina, and you got some countries in black, which are completely, we have no information.
We don't have good data. That doesn't mean there are no Adventists in those countries. Hey, we got a couple minutes left. I do want to touch on one other article I thought was fantastic. The problem was that she was inspired, somebody's personal testimony with regard to reading Ellen White, and I found it powerful. It's by Callie, who wrote this for us, and it talks about how you can read Ellen White and it seems cutting and sharp. Yeah. And she really takes the time to unpack the idea you should probably find out who Ellen White was addressing. Mm-hmm. So she uses this example, like, you should never let any moment go unimproved. God will hold you accountable. Mm-hmm. And she describes how she panicked. If I'm awake, I better be working for the gospel. Jesus took time out. James White was told by Ellen, go into the woods, don't even bring a Bible, just take some time off. And she realized she was addressing a specific issue. Yeah. And she underlined some other things, like read the original works that Ellen White wrote. The compilations are great and convenient, but sometimes those compilations can reflect what an editor thought was important to include in that volume. True. And so, you see, hey, Ellen White says, don't eat eggs. So quit eating eggs. And then you read, you should eat some eggs. Yeah. Two different people.
Raw eggs and grape juice is one context.
Oh, come on. Raw. Really?
Well, she actually talks about to one person who was going on what we call a vegan diet, and so strict that they became malnourished. The husband was imposing this to the wife, and the wife was dying. And she said, through your strict adherence, these are my paraphrase, you're killing your wife. Just eat a raw egg and grape juice. And you're thinking, what? But it's got great iron, it's got great protein, and it's just a huge influx of the nutrients that she needed at the time. But for some people, she said, don't eat eggs. So you have this, what I love about Callie's article is she emphasizes context and using your brain for the Lord Jesus and reading in the spirit of prophecy.
Bring up that QR code for us on the screen. You're going to want this. This is how you can get more of our content, whether it's this show, our video content, the magazine. Until next time, this is Shawn and
this is Justin.
Justin for Unscripted.